Hello, everybody. Welcome back. This session is going to be a classic for you. The purpose is to bring about clarity on your status as a Southern Cameroonian and also diagnose some of the political challenges La République du Cameroon is going through at the moment. Regardless, there is a lot of information in this video that will help you have perspective. Go ahead, grab a cup of coffee, buckle your seatbelt. Let's enjoy this wonderful ride. Go ahead, take a second, click the subscribe button so that every time a video is uploaded on this platform, you are notified. Share this video with a friend and loved one. That is how we connect and come together as one to bring about change in this geographical area of Southern Cameroons and La République du Cameroon. Regardless, let's dive straight into this video.
That there is something also wrong. We cannot be blaming just one party and forgetting the next, because there are things that you see that people have also taken sides. If we want change, let us get change. And I thought that this election for La République was not about Osi, it wasn't about Cabal, it wasn't about Tchiroma. I thought it was about kicking Paul Biya out. And whoever kicked Paul Biya out was what mattered to us. And that's why we got involved. We got involved because we also want Paul Biya out so that maybe we can get someone that can negotiate with us. And
that brother said the reason citizens of Southern Cameroons got involved in La République's politics is because they wanted someone they can negotiate with. I want you to underscore that, because that point is very, very important for this conversation. Let's keep listening.
Today we are trying to play blame game. Then I am saying that we have a long way to go.
Is General Kapo not of the ADF?
Yes, that's the ADF. He is part. The ADF is a member of the Unity Warriors platform.
Okay,
and
so
like
that
I
was
said,
General Kapo trying to bring things to order.
Yes, that was General Kapo trying to bring things together. You could hear him even questioning why civilians remain mute. He could enumerate a series of things that he has done for the civilians, and these are sin. You know, the problem we have here is that, like he rightly said, Nkar is infiltrated by traitors. There are a good number of traitors due to the fact that this general comes from that village. So you will know the kind of network he has there. But he has used his professionalism in handling the civilians. And the civilians in Nkar also, they need to sit up and understand that we are at war and stop betraying our people. He is still asking even for the people that pointed at that young civilian, that innocent civilian who was killed. And nobody is doing that because they want to hide their atrocities.
A civilian was killed around Ka. I think that should be in the Bui division area. We have been struggling with this issue for 65 years. For 9 years now, we've had armed conflict going on in that area. Few take the time to diagnose exactly what is going on with us. This video is designed to bring about clarity on what we have been dealing with for more than 65 years. It's been 9 years now that we have been in this crisis. Let me start by letting all of us understand, whether it is in La République du Cameroon or in the Southern Cameroons, leadership is everything in this war. Without a leadership, nothing happens. Without Jesus, there will be no Christianity. Let's start with that. Without George Washington, there will be no United States of America as we know it. Without Steve Jobs, There will be no apple in its iconic form. Without Moses, the children of Israel would never have come out of Egypt. Even if all the fighters on the ground unite, speak as one, without leadership, nothing happens. Without Ayuk Seseko Tabe, there will be no interim government. Without Ninjong Frundi, there will be no reference based on what happened in 92. Without Ayaba, there will be no armed resistance in the Southern Cameroons. We've gone through a lot for 9 years. It's time we have perspective and make progress in the Southern Cameroons. Without Issa Tchiroma Bakari, what we have seen this 2025 will not be a reality. Leadership is everything. I pointed out that Issa Tchiroma declaring ghost towns initially was a big mistake. These are a group of people that have been in this condition for more than 43 years. When you start something, make sure the momentum is gone. Issa Tchiroma Bakari wouldn't have called for that ghost town. That was number one failure on the part of leadership. It's not like citizens of La République du Cameroon cannot fight. You have to understand their history, understand what they have gone through, and why the revolution for change in Cameroon has stalled, and we have Issa Tchiroma Bakari as a refugee as we speak right now in the Gambia. Without Nelson Mandela, South Africa's transition might have collapsed into a civil war. Without Gandhi, India's independent movement would have taken a different path. Without Martin Luther King Jr., the US civil rights movement would have slowed. And without Lee Kuan Yew, Singapore wouldn't be the nation it became. Without Henry Ford, mass automobile culture wouldn't have arrived when it did. Without the Wright brothers, powered flight would have come much later. Leadership is everything. Write that down and never forget it. Without Thomas Edison, the spread of practical electricity, the electric light, as we see it today, would have stalled. And without Marcus Garvey, global black consciousness wouldn't have been imagined the same way. This is what leadership does in every dispensation. Without Nkrumah, modern Pan-Africanism wouldn't have found its political voice. All of this rises and falls on the back of leadership. This is a modern concept to most. We can rally behind the leader. Some people can emerge with their own ideas within that movement. But when history will be written, it will be on the back of one leader. I want us to keep listening to this video. Again, take the time, subscribe. This video will change your life forever. And you will understand where we find ourselves, why we have been stuck, why we don't make progress, and how we can make progress the right way. Let's go ahead and listen some more, and we will continue this analysis. Is this opening your eyes? And that is why we should respect and follow leadership. Moses killed an Egyptian in his early years, was on exile, but he was the man called for that mission to liberate the children of Israel out of Egypt. People are born for this. 80% of what it takes to be a leader, you come into this world with it. 20% is nurture. Donald Trump had several felony charges. In 2025, he was the man called for this hour. Some people have preference as to who will lead them in a time such as this. The energy we see in Cameroon right now, Tchiroma was called for that. He has his shortcomings, has his flaws. He was the man called for this hour. But he lacked strategy and conviction. There is a lot he can do right now to spark up this momentum. Again, if I give that on this platform, it will not be appreciated. Because many of us don't really cherish what we get for free. If it isn't hard, we have to struggle and dig hard. We don't believe it is real. We believe there is a string attached. So if Tchiroma team want to make progress, reach out. If not, we'll watch you go through. At the end of the day, the change that we all desire, we should put in the time, put in the energy to bring about that change. I will tell you exactly what Tchiroma would have done after all this is said and done. I want to watch what they get to do. After that, I will tell you what he would have done. I'm a strategist, a business major, a political analyst. And so we understand how international politics work. If we in the United States of America, the best country on earth, the most prosperous nation on earth, cannot bring about clarity and solutions to the issues we are dealing with in that area, then we have failed to represent what this country stands for, in spite how many years we've lived here. This is responsibility. Just being in the United States of America, studying in the United States of America, this is responsibility to bring about change in any third world country. Let's keep listening to that video, but trust me, this session will change your life forever.
And this kind of things in Nigeria, where before you are even granted a refugee status, these are some of the commitments you make. You have to undertake them, that you are not even going to go against any member state of the AU and a sovereign state. And they do have their meetings and agreement among themselves. I'm not a lawyer, where it's very difficult for a country to come against another. And that's one of the reasons why Ambazonia has been in this difficulty of having even just one country that could recognize us at the moment, because of these diplomatic ties that they have among each other that they agree. Now,
Mr. Shea made a very important point, that because of the diplomatic ties that nations have, Ambazonia would not be recognized because of these diplomatic ties. But there is more to that story, and you will understand that in this video. But I want you to underscore that point as well, that nations haven't recognized Ambazonia because of these diplomatic ties nations have. And so in the Gambia, the people said, oh, we have Tchiroma here. We don't want our country to be a base for civil unrest in any country. So underscore that as well.
The challenge too that Tchiroma would have had, because when you see that the regional, what was the word that he says, the regional committee or whatever is going to work with the government of Nigeria, I find it difficult again now agreeing with Mr. Mote that something definitely is going to happen in this December that we are looking forward to see that thing. The reason being that if Nigeria is going to get involved in this, then probably we are going to wait for long, because the current challenges and crises that are in Nigeria is definitely not going to abandon them to come to solve the crisis in Cameroon. I'm saying this because even President Tinubu was supposed to have been in South Africa for the G20 meeting due to the recent kidnappings in schools in Kwara State, in Kebbi State, in Niger State. He was obliged to cancel those trips. He even cancelled the EU summit that is taking place, I think, in Angola. This is to tell you that Nigeria is in a serious crisis where they need to resolve them, as Trump is also threatening to come to Nigeria to solve the problems himself if Nigeria does not sit up. Knowing fully well about the Christian genocide debate that is going on, and as if that is not enough, we just saw recently Nnamdi Kanu being sentenced to life imprisonment, which is also bringing another uprising in the East. Then I will tell you that Nigeria is having their cup full, and for them to be able to intervene and start negotiations with the Cameroon issue, we are going to wait for long. And as we know, time, as we keep saying, time heals all wounds. The momentum is dying, and that is what La Republique is doing, trying to buy time. And that's why you ask a question. Since the 7th, and we are getting the confirmation of his stay, probably 2 weeks after, what should have been happening?
One thing I want you to understand is La République du Cameroon has no jurisdictional power to negotiate on what is going on in the Southern Cameroons. I know this is hard for many to grasp. It is even illegal, based on international law, for Ninjom Frunti to become the president of La République du Cameroon. And you understand why. Some have categorized our case based on what is happening between Ukraine and Russia. Ukraine is a sovereign state recognized by the UN with defined borders. So is Russia. They can negotiate. Southern Cameroons is still a UN trust territory and cannot negotiate with a nation that has extended its administration into a UN trust territory. So negotiation can happen between Ukraine and Russia, but not between Southern Cameroons and La République du Cameroon. Don't ever get into any negotiation with La République du Cameroon. It is not legal based on international law. Nigeria doesn't have what it takes. Nigeria is not the UN and doesn't have the power to solve the issue between the Southern Cameroons and La République du Cameroon. So is the African Union. Only 2 entities has the power. Not even the United States. The United States can bring about peace and stability. But the United States of America doesn't have the jurisdictional power to resolve the conflict between Southern Cameroons and La République du Cameroon. The UK and the UN, these are the only 2 entities that have the power to bring about peace, stability, and ultimately resolving the issue between Southern Cameroons and La République du Cameroon. and I'll explain why. And this is the misunderstanding we have had for more than 65 years. I will start with a scripture that will serve as the foundation for this conversation. In 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 9, it says, "For we know in part, and we prophesy in part. But when that which is perfect is come, then that which is in part shall be done away." When I was a child, I speak as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. For now we see through the glass, darkly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then shall I know, even as also I am known. We speak in parts, we understand in parts. The goal is that we have the full picture. Oh, they occupied us. When you use that word occupied, when we don't have a union treaty, the burden of proof is on you. But when you say La République du Cameroun extended their administration illegally into a UN trust territory, now the burden of proof is on La République du Cameroun. And that is the flip we are making today. So write even this date down and never forget it. Knowledge is power. It brings about light. We will use Ayuk, Seseko Tabe, and Ayaba as a foundation to understand what has happened with us for the past 9 years, and then bring about clarity on these issues based on the paths these two individuals took. So I want to walk you through the story no one has ever told our people clearly. Not with emotions, not with slogans, but with truth. The kind that can stand in any court on earth. This isn't about humiliation. It isn't about choosing sides. Citizens of La République du Cameroun, hear me well. I'm the one who wrote the book, The Cameroon Dream. I believed in one Cameroon like everyone else. But truth, clarity, precision, structure is what will help us make progress in this area. This isn't about taking sides. It's about understanding why, after 9 long years, we are still in the same place, bleeding, arguing, scattered, confused, and why the solution has been sitting quietly in the law for 65 years. We are going to examine the strategy used by Ayuk Seseko Tabe and that of Ayaba. We are not attacking personalities. We are not attacking individuals. We are clarifying ideas so that we can make progress as one. Again, we are not correcting elders because they are wrong. We are bringing about clarity so that the world can hear us correctly. Now, I want you to imagine a man staring at a burning house and saying, if I can show the world a fully furnished home, they will help me build it. That is Ayuk Seseko Tabe. And that is Ayuk Seseko Tabe's strategy. He believed the world responds to structure. So he formed a government, a president, a cabinet, press secretaries, foreign affairs team. If Southern Cameroonians look like a functioning state, the world would treat them like one. He modeled after Eritrea, Kosovo, Palestine, places that had government in exile before gaining recognition. It was not foolish. It was human. It was hopeful. But here's where the foundation cracked. He declared independence without a treaty. He used a name, Ambazonia, that does not exist in UN archives. Underscore that, never forget. This is 9 years. He claimed statehood without completing the legal transfer of sovereignty. There is no name under the UN trusteeship system called Ambazonia, but Southern Cameroons. To the international system, how did this look like? This looked like presenting a birth certificate without parents or witness. Let's create a government, let's create a cabinet and present it before the world. They will believe us. They will see us as organized people that know where they are going with the name Ambazonia. So the world saw symbolism, not jurisdiction. I told you, life and death is in the power of the tongue. By your words, you are condemned. The world saw symbolism, not jurisdiction. Emotion, not documentation. His strategy had heart, but no legal oxygen. Now let's look at Ayaba's strategy, which is what many gravitate towards. Others are encouraging Issa Tchiroma Bakari to follow a similar path. Now, let's picture another man standing before the same burning house, but holding a bucket of gasoline. He believed the fire itself was the negotiation. So this is Ayaba's logic. It was very simple. Power doesn't come from conferences. Power comes from resistance. So he built the ADF, organized fighters, trained camps, armed communities. The goal was not diplomacy. The goal was leverage. Force La République to the table by making governance impossible. Again, do not ever negotiate with La République du Cameroon on the case of Southern Cameroons. They don't have jurisdictional power. The UN organized the plebiscite. The administering authority was the UK, not La République du Cameroon. You only get to negotiate with La République du Cameroon if they signed the Union Treaty. So Ayaba studied the Tigray, the SPLA, the EPLF movements that earned recognition through the battlefield. And again, this was not madness. When the people have been ignored for decades, resistance feels like the only language left. And this is pretty understandable. But Ayaba also stepped into a trap. Without a legal framework, without a recognized territorial identity, without a documented breach of international obligations, armed groups are labeled as rebel insurgents, not liberation forces. And so you see a lot of public will use the word terrorist and do away with you, and the world stays quiet. That is why for 9 years, why is the world quiet? Structure, framing, the right words. This is what the world listens to, including international diplomats. So the world filed the conflict under domestic rebellion, not incomplete decolonization. And the doors of diplomacy remained shut. And this is why these strategies collided. People say Ayuk and Ayaba hated each other. No, they didn't. What they hated was becoming irrelevant after believing that their strategy could bring about salvation for our people. The relevance was not out of ego, was because they believed that their strategy was the ultimate path to liberating our people. And we can all observe what has happened for 9 years. Ayuk believed diplomacy without unity was suicide. Ayaba believed diplomacy without pressure was begging. One man built a government, the other built a gun. Both were trying to climb a mountain, but from opposite sides, blind to the legal staircase right in front of them. Their disagreements wasn't personal, it was foundational. They lacked the one thing neither force nor politics can replace. And that one thing is jurisdiction. Write that down and never forget it. This is what everyone missed. And the purpose of this video today. Now we arrive at the heart of the tragedy. For 65 years, our leaders, activists, moderates, fighters, factions, all missed the same quiet truth. Southern Cameroons is not a political invention. There are just about 3 cases in the continent of Africa on incomplete decolonization. Ours has a strong framework that the others don't have, yet some have made progress. But our case remains in the same place because we lack clarity. We have one of the best cases on incomplete decolonization in the world. Southern Cameroons is not a political invention. It is a legal identity written into the trusteeship system, Article 76B, Resolution 1608, UN Archives. The case is there. It is in the British administrative reports and international law. Every legal record refers to one and only one name, Southern Cameroons, not Ambazonia, not Tika nation, not a federation, not a dream, Southern Cameroons. I went through the route of the one Cameroon after listening to the Amber fighters that they wanted jobs, they wanted opportunities. So I wrote a 20 years economic plan that could help move the entire nation. Without understanding the legal foundation myself, I didn't take the time to study that. I came close to Ambazonia. The division and infighting made me to question that relationship and ask questions. How did we even find ourselves in this place? And that helped me to find who we are after digging into 500 years of our history, to find out that almost every tribe in the Northwest are descendants of Tika. Connecting with our ancestors empowered me to understand the totality of our history in a way that I have never understood before. That the Bamileke and those in the Bamenda Highlands are brothers by ancestry, while our relationship with those in the Southwest is legal. So to make progress, we must follow legality. We must follow international law. That is why we are where we are today. And so the purpose of this video, Southern Cameroons, is the one name recognized by the UN. But instead of building a case on law, our leaders build a case on emotion. Flags before treaties, governments before jurisdiction, guns before documentation, slogans before facts. And the world, seeing disorder, contradictions, multiple claimants, quietly turned away. We fell back into propaganda. Britain sold us. La République du Cameroun and France are working together. That is why we can't make progress. We justified our situation, came up with ideas that can help us have peace about why we are not making progress. This was not because we were wrong, but because we never presented the case correctly. Now let's diagnose what changes everything for us. What finally breaks the ceiling and why it is more powerful than anything Ayuk or Ayaba ever attempted. Number one, returning to the only legal identity, which is Southern Cameroons. It appears in every UN file. It is recognized globally. It has documented historical continuity. No court on earth can deny it. So, number two, which is something we've never done before, shifting the burden of proof. We are not claiming La République du Cameroun. La République du Cameroun is claiming us. So they, not us, must produce the Union Treaty, the signatures, the ratification, the UN deposit. And they cannot, because it doesn't exist. So the burden of proof is on La République du Cameroun, not Southern Cameroons. They have to prove beyond reasonable doubt that they have the legal authority to extend their administration into a UN trust territory illegally or legally if they have a treaty or have jurisdictional power. You see why negotiation with La République du Cameroun is forbidden. If they show up to negotiate with you, it is illegal based on international law and the status we have at the moment. Number 3, we are looking at exposing the real breach through this video. The trusteeship was never completed. That is why we label it as incomplete decolonization. Some in the community will touch on there is no union treaty, and then all of a sudden they say, oh, we went into a gentleman's agreement. There is nothing like gentleman's agreement in international law. The resolution 1608 was clear on how this union will be formed. There was no legal transfer of sovereignty. There was no tripartite conferences. There was no finalization of resolution 1608. There was no treaty binding Southern Cameroons and La République du Cameroun, or binding Southern Cameroons to La République du Cameroun. So the burden of proof is on them. That means this is not a cessation, but when you use the wrong word, they define your cause as cessation. When you use the name Ambazonia, they define your case as cessation. It is an unfinished international file that is well documented in the UN files. Number 4, reframing the conflict. It is not rebellion. It is not a civil war. It is not an identity crisis, but incomplete decolonization. Write that word down and never forget it. So you use this on your podcast, YouTube videos, and in the communities. This places the responsibility legally on the UN, the UK, the administering authority, the supervising authority. Do you understand? Number 5, this is a universal principle that you should understand about our situation. It is illegal, based on international law, that La République extended its administration into a UN trust territory without a union treaty. So what we should stand up for, this is what created the conflict, which led to the teachers and the lawyers going out on the streets in 2016. Because the judges and the teachers from La République du Cameroun wanted to infiltrate our systems. These are conflicts that emerge when we have situations of incomplete decolonization. My number is on the screen. Those who are serious, if you know you are not, do not reach out. There is a book I'll recommend. After reading that book, then we will go on to look at your strengths and your weaknesses and what role you can play to bring this problem to an end. So what we stand up against is no taxation without representation. If we never signed a union treaty, La République du Cameroun has no authority to tax us, police us, detain us. Ayuk Sesekotabe, Mancho BBC, Ngalim Felix, and many others detained in La République du Cameroun. Based on international law, it's like detaining citizens of another country. And lawyers who are filing petitions on the release of these people should be mindful of that. They don't have the right to detain us, try us, militarize our land, issue ID cards, run elections inside of Southern Cameroons. Their presence in our land becomes a trespass, extension of their administration into a UN trust territory. Now, how do we go about restoring our jurisdiction? The matter returns where it belongs. UN legal corridors, trusteeship archives, international treaty law, not the battlefield, not social media, not factions. For the first time since 1961, the case stands upright. Not factions speaking in parts. No, it stands upright today before you. Why this strategy wins is because Ayuk built diplomacy without law. Ayaba built resistance without the same law. We built law first before diplomacy, before politics, before force. That is why this video is important. We did not begin with outrage. Told you my relative was kidnapped. The first thing, remain calm. We begin with documents. We did not demand recognition. Our brother said we are looking for nations to recognize us. Just what I have presented before you today gives us international recognition more than what Ambazonia has done for 9 years. Just presenting this case before the world on the status Southern Cameroons, a UN trust territory, holds. This gives us international recognition instantly. So I asked the only question international law cannot ignore. Where is the treaty? That is all I asked. Yeah, I know we want to dialogue with Paul Biya. If Issa Tchiroma Bakari becomes president, we can dialogue. Do they have the jurisdictional power to dialogue with us? If we can dialogue with La République du Cameroun, then La République du Cameroun becomes the UN. Then La République du Cameroun is the one who organized that plebiscite. Then La République du Cameroun is the one who issued Resolution 1608. I told you, Amado Ayijo had an education equivalent to Form 3. Was a radio operator, got into politics. Foncha, on the other hand, had an education equivalent to Form 5. Went on to have his teacher training license. So Amado Ayijo did not understand the legal implications of not signing that union treaty. Foncha said, I tried to get him to sign that union treaty to no avail. By August, he did not respond. He used the draft constitution to declare a union and federation. And they are calling it Reunification Day. And they celebrate it across the territory. People can remain in darkness like this for hundreds of years. 11 February is not Youth Day. That was the plebiscite day in the Southern Cameroons. We shouldn't be celebrating 20th May as Reunification Day. A German colony is different from a UN trust territory. And if we were part of a German colony, that doesn't make us a nation that we are reuniting. Do you understand? This is international law. I asked, where is the Union Treaty? Can you show us? And suddenly, the world must stop when we ask questions and come up with frameworks like this. Because there is no answer. This strategy does not need guns. It does not need elections in exile. It does not need competing governments. It only needs truth. Clearly presented, legally framed, publicly documented. For the first time in our history, Southern Cameroons is not begging to be heard. It is summoning the world to honor its own laws. We are not begging to be heard. The burden of proof is on La République du Cameroun, not us. No taxation without a representation. No taxation without a union treaty. No extension of your administration into our territory without representation, without a union treaty. We just remain there. And this is what you should print each time you come across a police officer, a judge, an administrator, whether a governor appointed by La République du Cameroun. Sir, can you present to us a union treaty to prove to us that you have the legal right to function in our territory as an administering authority? Do you have the right to tax us? Each time they deploy soldiers from La République du Cameroun into Southern Cameroons, let those soldiers ensure that they come not just with the assignment, but also have that union treaty. Because that is what we will need to see to understand that you have jurisdictional power to administer us. So, if there is one message I want you to take away, it is this. Our freedom does not begin with unity. It begins with clarity. And for the first time, we have it. Not through Ambazonia, not through Tika nationalism, but through the only name the world already recognizes, and that is Southern Cameroons. And with this, the world must answer. This time, we are standing on law. We are standing on a legal foundation. We are going to listen some more, and then we will use the if-then argument to have perspective on this issue.
He's standing there, you pull money out of his pocket, give it to his associates. He is standing there observing his associates are giving money to bike riders. And don't be surprised. These bike riders may be military men disguised. Because we have seen situations where the military in Cameroon disguised as Okada riders, bike riders, go and hide their pistols within their jackets, go out and cause mayhem, shoot people randomly. Again, hired and supervised by the minister of territorial administration. Think about it. Think about it. How can a minister of territorial administration of a country stand by the gas station, by the roadside, and is dishing out $3 to bike riders? Where have you seen that, ladies and gentlemen? Where have you seen that? But it happens in Cameroon, and I'm about to show you what you are going to be seeing here took place. I think that was either in Bafoussam or Mbunda over the week. Look at that. Now you can see that's Paul Atanganji on your right hand side. See, look at his men giving money, paying money for gas or petrol to the Okada rider. Look at Atanganji. Look at him right there on your right. Okay? Let's hear what they are saying there. Look at the money. See the money. Now the next one comes and the audio.
Because if you
this is what happens when you build on a faulty foundation. This is what La République du Cameroun has done. They get some people from among us into that administration thinking that will substitute for a union treaty. They started with Fonja and the rest, Mona. That will never substitute for a union treaty based on international law. That is why you see Atanganji Paul looking confused like a thief. You can't build on a foundation of lies. I want to appreciate the efforts of Mr. Chris Ano. I told you, we are not correcting elders because they are wrong. We are upgrading the vocabulary so the world hears us correctly. Mr. Chris Ano has been consistent and has tried his utmost best. Ayuk Sesekotabe, Cho Ayaba, Sako, John Ba Akoro, Fabiano Deco, and many others. They have tried their best immensely to keep this flame burning. And now we are having clarity. And it's time to walk as one and have a unified front and the right words so that the world hears us correctly. Some think participating in the elections in La République du Cameroon will give them legitimacy. You can become a citizen of La République legally, but you can't use Southern Cameroons to belong to La République du Cameroon. It can't work that way legally, based on international law. Some think, oh, if I get a job in La République du Cameroon as a Southern Cameroonian, and then I'll be able to have legal standing. You can move over and be a citizen of La République du Cameroon. You can advocate for La République du Cameroon wherever you find yourself in the world. But that will never be under that foundation of Southern Cameroons, based on international law. Whether you're a journalist, a podcaster, an advocate, an activist, you can never violate this legal gap that we have before us. Resolution 1608 was clear on how this union would be formed. If that is not followed, a union doesn't exist between Southern Cameroons and La République du Cameroon. I rest my case, my lord. We will use a 10-part framework to deconstruct this pillar of confusion that we have before us. Number one, the Union Treaty argument. We'll use the if-then approach as well. I think those who are legal minds in our community understands this. Those who have studied philosophy, you understand this framework. If Southern Cameroons joined La République du Cameroon in 1961, then a union treaty must exist. If such a treaty exists, then it must be signed, ratified, and deposited at the UN under Article 102. If it was deposited, then the UN, AU, and ICJ would have it on record. Since no such treaty exists anywhere, then the claim of joining La République du Cameroon collapses. I told you, as it stands, the United Nations doesn't recognize that there was a federal system of government in Cameroon in 1961. Underscore that and never forget it. If there was any amendment, if we joined legally, and the federal system is what we built this relationship on, if there was any amendment, the UN should be notified. The UN was never notified that the federation was dissolved because a union treaty doesn't exist. So everything La République did was through their constitution, through their internal laws, and international law doesn't work like that. Do you understand? Yeah. Now, number two, the resolution 1608 argument. This is very important because this is the document we ought to be studying. Nothing else. After the plebiscite results, the next document that the United Nations issued was this document. We just stay on this document. No argument, no participating in the elections, hoping to dialogue with La République. No, we just stay on this document. So if the UN General Assembly adopted Resolution 1608, then Britain Southern Cameroons and La République du Cameroun were required to meet and finalize the union terms. Issa Tchiroma Bakari had a popular vote. That is not equal to becoming president. I said this election should be a case study for La République du Cameroun. If that conference never happened, then the union was never consummated. If the union was never consummated, then La République du Cameroun's claim of sovereignty is without a legal foundation. I rest my case, my lord. This is the resolution 1608 argument. Number 3, the trusteeship completion argument. If Southern Cameroons was a UN trust territory under international supervision, then the process of decolonization had to be completed according to UN rules, not Yaoundé's rule, not the African Union's rule, not Nigeria's rule, the UN rules. If the final act, which is the Treaty of Union, was never completed, then decolonization remains incomplete. Clarity. If decolonization remains incomplete, then the people of Southern Cameroons retain the right and obligation to complete it. So the burden of proof is on La République du Cameroun. They should be the one running to the UN, not us. We just have to state our position. No taxation without representation. Just like what the lawyers and the teachers did. That we won't allow La République du Cameroun's magistrates inside our courts. We practice common law. You practice civil law. We were not legally merged. Your judges can't infiltrate our legal system. And then we use the resolution 1608 and then we remain there. We boycott La République du Cameroun's administrative units in every sector in Southern Cameroons. And those bearing arms should enforce this and not clamoring independence or going around with slogans like Ambazonia. That has no legal foundation. Number 4, the administrative authority argument. We are still using the if-then approach. If Britain ended its administration on October 1st, 1961, then administrative authority needed to pass legally to someone. If no treaty transferred authority to La République du Cameroun, then La République du Cameroun never lawfully acquired that authority. If La République du Cameroun never acquired authority legally, then its presence in the territory is an extension of administration without UN approval, which is illegal under international law. Do you understand? My people, we were not present in 1961. The issues that we are dealing with, we did not create it. But it is our responsibility not to transfer these problems to the next generation. It is our responsibility to fix these issues. We did not create them, but it is our responsibility to study, understand and fix these issues so we do not transfer them to the next generation. Most will get old and pass on. The question is, are we transferring the same burden to the next generation? Number 5, the self-government argument. If Southern Cameroons had a functioning self-government with a House of Chief, House of Assembly, and a democratically elected Prime Minister, then it was constitutionally competent to negotiate and sign a treaty on behalf of its people. If it was competent to sign a treaty, then it was competent to refuse a treaty. If no treaty was signed, then nothing binds Southern Cameroons to La République du Cameroon. Some will tell you, was Southern Cameroons an independent nation or an independent state to sign a union treaty? If Southern Cameroons did not have the power to sign a union treaty, La République doesn't have the authority to extend its administration into a UN trust territory. You collapse under the weight of your own argument. That is why the elections were conducted in the Southern Cameroons before the plebiscite. Number 6, the reunification myth argument. These are frameworks. If you claim reunification, then you must show that 2 territories had been previously united. If they had never been united before 1961, then you cannot call it reunification. And they celebrated on 20th May. This has been going on forever. If it wasn't reunification, then it requires a fresh, valid, legal union treaty, which never existed. I told you, every francophone system in Africa is struggling. Every state colonized by France has failed. This is a historically documented fact. If we in the United States of America can't help our people, then we disgrace the image of this nation. For 300 years, the software that has transformed the 21st century and has transformed the globe for 300 years is English. Again, I say I was born in Bamenda, but I was made in Texas. Tika is my foundation. Ethnically, legally, I'm a Southern Cameroonian. America, Texas, shaped me and brought about structure. Number 7, the identity restoration argument. If La République du Cameroon restored its 1960 name in 1984, La République du Cameroon, then it legally reverted to the state that existed before any alleged union. If it reverted to its pre-union identity, then it effectively repudiated any supposed union. If the partner in a union disappears legally, then the union dissolves automatically. It was never even created because there is no union treaty. Because Gojin Dinka came up with Ambazonia after the 1984 events. And I understand his legal argument, but you can't assume they succeeded if we don't have a legal union treaty. You can never secede from a union that never legally existed based on the United Nations rules. Therefore, La République's own action confirms the union never existed. Do you see this? Diplomats, the United Nations, the world gets to hear us correctly. Because some will say you're trying to bring about instability. No, we are bringing about clarity. This is law. The people bringing about instability is La République du Cameroon. Legally. I'm not taking sides. Because if they can prove that the union exists, then we have to go back and look at the structure of government that should be in place in this area. And with that, we can amend, write, adjust the constitution. With that, I don't just look at myself as someone that comes from a region in Cameroon. I'll look at myself as someone who really comes from Cameroon. And that means I can make amendments, oppose any law, even in Douala or in Yaoundé. Because I don't have that power, I can't make those decisions. You have to understand how power works. You have to understand the laws governing this world. That's why I say if you don't understand 5,000 years of human history, it'll be hard to even have understanding of your own issue. Some Amba fighters called me a couple of months ago. One said he was detained by the La République armies. Someone set him up, and so he was detained by La République armies. When he came out of their detention, he went after the individual that allegedly set him up. He said they have him in their custody. Should they take away his life? And I said, I don't have the authority to give you that order to take that man's life. Not because I am scared, but because they are operating under Ambazonia. Understanding this case the way I do now, I won't go on to infiltrate in a jurisdiction where I have no authority. Ayaba could tell him, go ahead and do that. I wouldn't. If those from the Southern Cameroons understand this framework that I'm presenting before us, because this is what you need. If not, go back to the community and continue with propaganda and blame Britain, blame France, blame the United Nations, and not do things the right way. You can choose that path. I understand how power works. I understand jurisdiction. Even within Southern Cameroons. Anything that has to do with Ambazonia, we can put out images here for the public view, encourage certain groups to remain resilient, but there are certain orders I will not give if everyone in the Southern Cameroons doesn't understand what I just shared today. But if everyone understands what I just shared today, including the fighters, and we remain on this premise of Resolution 1608, Southern Cameroons, our legal name, no taxation without representation, then if someone wants to tax us, extend their administration based on this foundation, I can give you the go-ahead to pull the plug. So Ayuk Sesekotabe's approach and Ayaba's approach are both amazing to help us find freedom. But if Ayaba's strategy was too military and he had the right legal foundation, we shouldn't have factions, people coming up with their own little groups. Ayaba has been detained. The armed resistance has gone cold. Leadership is everything, and those in the Southern Cameroons have to realize that without Ayaba, there will be nothing like armed resistance in the Ambazonian struggle. Respect leadership, respect authority. A case in point, we had the American army before Donald Trump became president. You didn't see the American army or the ISIS running around trying to deport illegal immigrants the way it went on under Donald Trump. What changed? Leadership. The same soldier under a different leader acted different. So the soldiers can come together, they can unite from every county. Without leadership, everything is a fiasco. And I know where it will end. It's a matter of time. Without Ayaba, there will be no armed resistance the way you've seen it for the past 9 years. And let's settle with that. Without Ayuk Sesekotabe, there will be nothing like the IG. That structure came from him. And we have to realize people are born for things like this. It's not by chance. There will never ever be another Ninja Mfonti. There will never ever be another Mahatma Gandhi. You've seen it. Maurice Kamto tried the same approach, was locked up. Issa Tchiroma Bakari tried the same approach as Ninja Mfonti and is on exile as we speak. I want to let you know that mold, that strategy, that approach in 92 was used by Ninja Mfonti, and God doesn't repeat himself. And to those who think it's about age in the community, regurgitating past facts, we've heard everything that happened. So we don't need someone to tell us again. But what we need is clarity and the way forward. And from the look of things, there is none within the Ambazonian movement. None. Just like people were hoping that Issa Tchiroma understands the system so he will beat the system. We have this kind of mindset. We believe in connections. We believe in those who are old. This kind of mindset, we need to detox from this kind of thinking. It's not a coincidence that Jesus Christ was 33. When you look throughout history, it's not a coincidence that God has predominantly used those in their 30s to bring about real transformation. And that includes Jesus Christ, Alexander the Great, name it, Steve Jobs. It's not a coincidence that God used people in their 30s. The elders bring about wisdom, but the young people have the energy. Look at the individuals occupying the same position within Trump's administration and how old they are compared to the individual that Issa Tchiroma Bakari picked up as a spokesperson. For us to make progress, we just need to copy what works. And you can't go into business sectors and try to pick up examples from business owners to use in a political environment. Look at how far America has come, yet Trump still surrounds himself with youthful energy to move this nation forward. Then you're talking about a third world nation. Issa Tchiroma Bakari choosing someone in their 80s to be a spokesperson in Douala. Someone in the diaspora would have handled this PR work better than the woman Issa Tchiroma Bakari chose. Incompetence. He doesn't have what it takes. Let's face that fact. There are ways he can go about to bring about change, but I won't share it. I want you guys to do what you think you can. Afterwards, I'll tell you exactly what Issa Tchiroma Bakari would have done. But it has no effect on Southern Cameroon. Whether La République du Cameroon has a new president, that has nothing to do with Resolution 1608. It has nothing to do with our legal standing as a UN trust territory. Number 8, the exchange of notes argument. If exchange of notes were enough to form a union, then treaties would not be required anywhere in the world. If treaties are required for all other nations, and this includes Tanzania, the EU, Singapore and Malaysia, East and West Germany, they all ratified a union treaty and registered it at the UN. If treaties are required for all other unions, then exchange of notes cannot be treated as a union treaty. If exchange of notes is not a treaty, then no union with La République du Cameroon was ever formed. These are foundational. Without dealing with this, whatever furniture we try to put into a house that we do not belong will crumble, and this cycle of confusion will continue for the next 50, 100 years if we don't stop it now. Nothing will change. Someone from the Southern Cameroons will never be a president in La République du Cameroon. And this marginalization will continue forever. It might get worse in the future. These are those foundational steps that people underestimate. Like, oh, no, let's just do this. No. These foundational steps, without properly articulating it, solving it, we've seen what has happened for the past 9 years. Let's create a government. Yes, we did that. Nothing changed. Oh, let's pick up arms. We did that and nothing has changed. Let the soldiers unite. Yes, they can unite, but nothing will change. Let even the leaders abroad unite. Why are they divided? They can unite on the wrong foundation, and that is the realization. If they all united, nothing still will change without understanding what I have shared with you today. So it's not unity first. This foundation. Number 9, the jurisdiction argument. If a state has jurisdiction over a territory, then it must be able to prove the legal basis of that jurisdiction. If La République du Cameroon cannot produce a treaty transferring sovereignty or administrative authority, then it has no jurisdiction. If it has no jurisdiction, then the detention of Mancho BBC, Ayuk Sesekotabe, Terence, Ngalim Felix, it's illegal. The military actions, the administration in Southern Cameroons violates international law. And the last, the citizenship argument, because they gave you the ID card, they gave you passports, birth certificates. You've grown with citizens of La République du Cameroun. Most grew up this way. So the belief is we are citizens of La République du Cameroun. I said there are 3 cases like this in the continent of Africa. We have the strongest among them all. If La République du Cameroun claims Southern Cameroons or Southern Cameroonian citizens are its citizens, then it must show the legal act that created that citizenship. Let me repeat this again. If La République du Cameroons claim Southern Cameroonians are its citizens, then it must show the legal act that created that citizenship. If no union treaty exists, then citizenship was never legally conferred. If citizenship was never conferred legally, then Southern Cameroonians are not La République citizens, but a people under incomplete decolonization. That is why I said we are citizens of La République du Cameroun, not through legitimacy, but through learned acceptance. People can wallow in this confusion for hundreds of years with the hope that this or that strategy will grant them freedom. We will listen to the remaining part of this video and then we will wrap up. Is this blessing you? Let's take a listen.
You have people, you talk about fighting, you give them strategies, and no one is taking any into consideration. Look at people who want change, and at the same time, on the day of it goes down for a leader whom they have said is a candidate for change, asking you to stay at home, but you prefer to go for 5,000. How do you expect change to come? He will not come. He will not ask any question to them. I mean, was a fighter, sorry. He will not even ask them for a question. But a civilian being killed and nothing happens. But when a fighter makes a mistake, which we all make mistakes, that is when civilians will rise up against it. One thing we need to learn here, it's about the freedom we have, the right to demonstration. And that is what the fighters have always given to the civilians. They have a right to protest. Try this in La République, and you saw what happened when they just came out peacefully to protest. It would have been a different case if they were marching towards the military. So I hope that our people should not take the leniency and the goodness of our fighters, always there to listen them, as an abuse.
I'll leave you with this. We have heard what the fighters are going through, how they react to events within their community. You'll never be treated equally in as much as you yoke with La République du Cameroun. No one will ever love you like your own. No one will ever go to this extent to bring about transformation like your own. I shared in a previous video a story about Benjamin Franklin. Being a Southern Cameroonian is not just by birth, that you were born in a geographical location, so that makes you a Southern Cameroonian. It is duty, it is responsibility. That is what makes you a Southern Cameroonian. Humans are free to travel anywhere around the world and become a citizen of that country. Like you can move over to La République du Cameroon and become a citizen of La République du Cameroon, following the legal process. A Southern Cameroonian is someone that honors this history, honors the legacy of those who came before us. Those who went out and voted in 1961 and what they stood for. Benjamin Franklin was the father of William Franklin. They had two opposing positions. His son, William Franklin, wanted the British crown, while the father, one of the founding fathers of America, wanted freedom and the birth of a new nation. They had to go their separate ways. William Franklin was kicked out of the United States of America to Britain. His father became one of the founding pillars of the United States of America. So it is a decisive moment for all of us, even within families, on this issue. A Southern Cameroonian is not just the place of birth. A Southern Cameroonian is duty, its responsibility, is being true to this cause to the end. So now that you've heard the truth, share this with your friends and loved ones. Subscribe to this platform so you never miss out. My contact number is on the screen. Reach out. There is a book I recommend to everyone that wants to participate to bring about this change. Many think everyone in the community has to be united for this change to happen. No. When the people see structure, they will unite. Even those who are supporting La République du Cameroon right now, when they see some structure, precision, they will throw away that bondage and unite. And that is my honest observation. But the history that I have exposed on this platform, Atika heritage, has to be taken into consideration. What happened in the past between some tribes in the southwest infiltrating the Tika land and selling our people as slaves, that should not be ignored. It's part of our story. We embrace it, and every time that tendency or urge comes up to betray, remember what happened in the past. Because you can't call someone from Bamenda come no go when we are one legally. And you don't call those from La République the come no go. Those from La République du Cameroon in the southwest or in the northwest, those are the individuals you should call come no go, because there is no union treaty binding us with La République du Cameroon. So use those words in the right place. Again, the Bamileke people are our brothers based on our ancestry. But based on legality, we are brothers with the Southwest. Legally, based on what the UN says. Based on the UN records. That is the totality of our history for more than 553 years. Tribalism is you looking at someone from the northwest or from Bamenda and you call them come no go. Let's keep all these labels on the side and pursue this cause to the end and make sure we don't transfer this baggage to the next generation. That is our duty. That is our responsibility in this dispensation. Playing La République politics is a waste of time. Clamoring Issa Tchiroma Bakari or Paul Biya, trying to have dialogue with Paul Biya, is a waste of time and energy. Going with the label Ambazonia is a waste of time. Trying to create a government without a legal foundation is a waste of time. including Tika nation, is a waste of time. The right thing to do is to present Southern Cameroons before the people. No taxation without representation in every sector within Southern Cameroons. And if there is any armed group, they should mobilize for this cause and not for Ambazonia. The world will hear us, and whatever we are doing will have international recognition. The next steps will not be disclosed until this message sinks in and everybody have perspective. Do you understand?